Starting. And it says that we are live. So welcome everybody. I guess when we're talking, I should have been trying to figure out how to throw this up so I can start seeing all the comments and stuff. So excited for everybody to be on here tonight. We have quite a group. Not only do we have Miss Amy Springer back again, we do have Mr. Matt Sharon and Miss Erin Sharon today. And even last time I said of Merch Elephant, and can we call you like Merch Elephant Des? Like what can we call it? What is it? What are we going with?
I mean, the reason we originally named the channel that was because the plan was for both of us to be doing content. So her original business it was named White Elephant Interiors, right? Mm-hmm. It was a design business. So that was where the elephant came from. But I've since done a lot more content because she doesn't really enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. I'm just
You're the creative genius behind all of our success, so I think it works out.
But I don't have a name. I don't know. I'm like the safari guide.
The zookeeper.
Yeah, the zookeeper. The lion.
The zookeeper. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Hopefully this doesn't. I'm like waiting to hop on so I can do oh good, the sound is off already. Sweet. This is good. And then I'm just going to pause it so that we don't have anything going on there. And then there we go. I can see the comments.
Nice.
That's fun. Okay, it only took a year, but I think we might have gotten it together.
8+ Pro time.
Woohoo! Woohoo! So anyway, so I'm excited because we have a lot to talk about because you guys just dropped something, and we're just gonna come right out with it because I'm so excited about it. So you guys just dropped something really, really awesome. And I'm going to have you guys share that, and then I'll just give a little commentary on it afterwards. But what did you guys just release?
Okay, so we just opened up a mock-up shop on Etsy. It's something that we've kind of wanted to do for a long time. We were talking about it a little before the show started. Like a lot of things in business, it started because we had a need. We needed better mock-ups than what were out there, specifically because there just wasn't a lot of like kids stuff that was really good. There wasn't a lot of men's stuff. So we're like, screw it. Like, let's take some of these photos ourselves. And then we're like looking at the competition and everything else out there. I think there's an opportunity if you do it well, and provided, some diversity, like get something out there that's a little bit different. And we partnered up with our good friend Jasmine, who's a photographer, because the most important thing about mockups is you need good quality photography. And we started releasing mockups last week. So we've got like 120 up right now. And we've just did a massive photo shoot yesterday that we're going to probably put up at least another 100 within the next couple of days. A lot more men's and women's stuff.
So let's real quick though. So you guys started this project how long ago?
God.
Well, we first did a shoot, just like a test shoot with Jasmine. It was probably almost a year ago, or a little bit over a year ago. Yeah. And we just kind of didn't really know what we were going to do. It wasn't lining up, and I didn't have a lot of experience with mock-ups at that point. Like I had just gotten into like searching for mock-ups, and I feel like now after a year, I have a really good idea of like what's out there, what's needed, how I can stand out. I wanted it to be like a different style. I feel like a lot of shops were opening up and literally copying the same thing over and over again and doing it not even as good as the original. So I was like, I want to be different, and I want to fill the gaps. I want to fill the gaps of things that aren't out there that people need. And so that's just basically what we did.
Yeah. And then we really kicked it into gear probably about a month ago, I would guess.
And then just started doing shoots and doing research and stuff. So yeah,
it was probably about lots of shopping for props. Like you don't realize we have.
That's like her favorite part. I can see it in her face right now.
That's why they made Target.
Well, and I love that I can go in and I'm like, hi, I'm looking for small and extra smalls, which I never get to do.
Yeah. So we have literally, God, I don't know. We've invested a decent amount of money in props and stuff. Like it's just upfront costs that you have to spend, right? Like you have to make sure that you have some of this stuff so it stands out.
Well, and here's one of the things and this is kind of what I'm hoping to like kind of get at so like people can kind of see this. So I just love talking timelines with stuff because number one, we have a pretty regular communication. So a pretty consistent basis. We communicate about just different things and most of the merch business, all this kind of stuff. And it's not like it was necessarily like undercover or whatever, but like there's stuff that everybody's working on in the background that you don't really know. And you guys have been working on this. And again, obviously, I'm sure it happened in different chunks and whatever. Like you said, you kicked it up a notch, about a month ago. But during that time, you had this idea. And instead of just being like, okay, I have this idea, I'm going to sit on it and I'm going to research. First, you got into action and realized, wow, I'm not exactly where I need to be for this yet. But you got into action. And when you initially was like, okay, this photo shoot kind of sucked, like, but now I know why it sucked. And now I need to, get better at it throughout this time. And then obviously there's a lot of other stuff that happens throughout the year because Matt, you have a pool business and you guys both work together on a lot of different projects, which is incredible for both of you guys to basically be it's funny. I was in a chat with Amy and Amy when she was talking about having you guys.
She's frozen.
Oh,
here comes the.
That was
there. You are. You froze for a second.
Oh, anyways. So basically, did I get to the part where I like had a chat with Amy?
You got to Amy and Amy, and then you froze.
And then so a chat with Amy and Amy, and I was like, I just love seeing them like come together and build stuff together and work through that. And they're basically like newlywed-ish. Like try and be newlyweds in general and kind of being together. But when you guys are trying to actually do that and build something together, there's two things. Not only is it very challenging and there's a lot of stuff that you have to work through as a couple, but like I feel your bond and your relationship is just like through the roof because there's just so much that you guys have to like go through in such a short period of time when you're working so closely together. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So communication is really important in business, right? Like, so in general, it's just important. Whatever you're doing, you need to be able to communicate. It's extra important when you're working with your spouse because not only do you have to like communicate what you want to get done, you also have to communicate it in a way that like she doesn't think that you're ordering her around or treating her like a slave. And also you don't talk to her like she's, an idiot, right? And I have come from the business world where like I've owned my business for a long time. Like I've managed a lot of people and I don't have the most patience sometimes. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. Like we worked around it. And I think we worked pretty well together for the most part. It involves a lot of times just going, I'm sorry. I didn't say it that way. I didn't mean it that way. We worked through a lot of those issues. I think that honestly, it's probably been good for our bond overall, just because we know how to talk to each other. Like there's no beating around the bush. You have to be honest in business. Like you can't sugarcoat things. Like it either works or it doesn't. And I think that's good for your relationship too. Like you just need to be honest.
Yeah. I was going to say, you have to be honest in marriage too. You have to be honest in friendship. You have to be honest in everything. And sometimes I really feel like this is probably the first relationship where I can feel like I can just say what I need to say. And of course, I sometimes am snappy or just get up and walk out because I'm just like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. But we always come back and be like, okay, so this is what I'm feeling. This is what I want. This is where we need to get. What are we going to do to get there? And then we always, it's never like a big blow up and then nothing gets resolved. It's always,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the benefits. Again, it's very challenging, but it's also a benefit because I mean, you guys are building something together. Like you can't just be like, okay, we're not talking for a week. That doesn't happen. Like it has to. And then when both of you guys are on the same page and are shooting for the same goal, or you're like, okay, well, we both are going towards this same thing. So we're going to have to work through this. And like you said, being able to also be totally honest with each other, especially with that business and stuff. And it's funny because maybe, again, you guys basically working together, 24/7 for John and I, occasionally, it doesn't happen all that often, but it does happen to where we'll be like, what hat are we wearing right now? Because like sometimes we'll be like, that's it. Like this is business partner stuff and we're talking business partner stuff. Like no emotions about it. Like we have to like separate that. And then sometimes it's like, can you just be nice and loving to me for a second? Like, can you can we, you know,
I
and
know.
we go both
Can you
ways,
be nice and
actually.
loving to me for a
shut
second?
Like, but it's funny, and it's just like those different hats that, like, it's great. Like, are we a parent now? Are we, you know, having fun together? Are we working together? But
There's no manual for it. So that it definitely requires. I get that question a lot, actually, from a lot of people. It's like, I want my wife to be more involved, or I want my husband to be more involved in what I'm doing here. Like, how do I approach that? And it's kind of the same answer I give everybody, which is like, you got to be honest, and you have to be like brutally honest, because it's the only thing that's going to work. Like, don't sugarcoat things. And then you also you need to communicate. You need to talk back and forth. And it may not work. They may not be interested. They may not want to do it. It just happens to, you know, I like the e-commerce side. I don't necessarily like the design side. She likes the design side. She doesn't always love the e-commerce side. It's just kind of a good marriage. Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things same thing. Like, some people, obviously we've been working together so long. I know people that asked me, one of our friends, his wife had actually left her teaching job. And he's like, do you think that she, you know, should she do e-commerce? He does some e-commerce stuff. And she's like, should you do e-commerce? Should you do this with me? And I'm like, does she want to? And he's like, well, I'm like, like, you know, just she has to want to do it, because it is going to be hard regardless. So, like, that's like question number one. If anybody has anything, or if they're like, oh, I wish my, you know, spouse was more involved in whatever, you know what? Like, you have to appreciate them, where they're at, what they do, what, you know, you married them for who they are, whatever you want to say, you know? So if that's the case, but definitely take that into account. Do they really want to? Because it cannot be forced. Like, it just like being an entrepreneur and building something for yourself and getting up and having that energy to do it when not knowing if it's going to pay off or not. It has to be the same for them too.
Right. I agree totally. Like, Amy, I know you said your husband started to get a little interested into merch after your December. Has he moved on that at all?
Yeah, he's starting to pick up the laptop now to help me, like, with niche research and stuff. Like, he's always wanted to be helpful in that, but he works a pretty demanding job. So he comes home and he's got limited hours, and it's like, well, you know, I know his desire is to, and he's starting to, and it's really cool, because I love how I have, like, that support and that encouragement, even if he isn't helping. But it's just so much better when he is, because I feel like it's something that we can bond over. For sure. And the communication, you know, just being able to talk and dream together is really, really fun.
What would be would his piece be, like, the research part of it? Like, what's the part that's
Yeah, he's always been into, like, going down rabbit holes, and, you know, he's just always kind of done that anyway, but now there's a bigger purpose.
Sorry.
Bless you. So it's been fun. It is. I doubt I'll ever get him on camera with me, but, you know.
You never know.
I mean, we managed to get John on camera every once in a while. So if John comes on camera, there's hope for your husband.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
He's like grunting in the background over there. Oh my gosh. Okay, so trying to think of what there was like actually a couple things that I wanted. Oh, and obviously, of course, you know, even with that, and again, we talked about you have your pool business, and you know, you are pumping out a lot of awesome content. And so you have a couple different shows. So share a little bit about that, and you know, when people can hop on and check you out and what you got.
Yeah. So I do content. You'll see me in the chat right now under the channel name Merch Elephant. So we do start off as Merch by Amazon content. I've been doing a lot of Etsy content lately. I'm going to come back to some Amazon content. I have I think a couple good ideas about stuff. Again, white spaces, things that aren't being addressed right now. So I do a little bit of everything there. We do a show every Wednesday that's more, it's transforming more into an e-commerce show than just necessarily a merch show. It's Real Talk with RJ and Matt, because we're growing in our business, right? Like, the show is about the things that we're interested in. So we started off with merch. That's what we were into all the time. We've done some Etsy stuff. We've done some Shopify stuff, but, you know, we're kind of growing as business people, both of us. So we both have different interests, and we want to be able to show different ways that people can make money online, because literally, like, it's almost endless. So we do that every single Wednesday. And then we just started up a show last year, towards the tail end of last year, with me, RJ Young from Merch Minds, and Matt Carlett from the Merch Design Factory. That's called the Average Joe Show. And what the idea behind that is a lot of the content that we do on Real Talk is kind of more advanced stuff. And we felt like a lot of the people that were in the lower tiers that probably needed more help, honestly, than the stuff that we're talking about on Real Talk, needed a little bit more of a direct one-to-one talk. And so the idea behind it is we bring somebody on and we do a 30-minute to a 1-hour coaching call where we basically go over their designs, go over some of their listings, go over their general business, and give them some real targeted feedback in terms of things that they're doing well and also things that they're doing poorly that are preventing them from being able to kind of move on. It's gotten a really good response, and I think it's honestly like some of the best videos out there in terms of really targeted advice about like things that a lot of sellers are doing.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'll even admit, I mean, I love that show that y'all are doing, and there's been a few things that I've noticed that I haven't been applying to my own business, and it's like y'all are even helping me, and I'm you know, I'm not exactly a beginner, so there's some solid content being shared on that show.
Yeah, I think we're also like, we all have a really good relationship too. Like we all talk all the time anyways. And we all kind of, you know, just, it's typical like guys, right? Like we bust each other's balls all the time. So it's pretty entertaining because we've been around long enough that we have, you know, a little bit of dirt on each other. So we can, you know, kind of make fun of each other.
Now I totally forgot what I was gonna say. So,
well, it's good to have that chemistry. You know, because y'all do, like, you can tell you guys are almost like brothers up there, you know, like you all help one another and you each have your own like expertise in it. And it's really cool how you guys all jive like that.
So yeah, there's a lot going on in this household. There's a lot of balancing going on in this household. So we put in a lot of work. Like we're typically at our computers every day, at least until I would say 9 o'clock at night. That's a normal night, 7 days a week. So, you know, for most people, like the number one thing that I tell people when they're starting out in merch or e-commerce, anything, right? Like, you know, you didn't become good right away. You didn't instantly step in and become a superstar. So you got to put the work in. And, you know, we've been doing this now for almost 2.5 years. And like, we're still working our asses off every day. And that's true of just about everybody I know that's having success.
Yeah, that's like the key ingredient right there. And eventually, you know, you'll be able to relax a little bit and see the harvest of all that. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't see that the hard work that's involved, and they get tripped up on like the numbers and stuff, but it's like y'all are grinding it out every day, all day. It's you know what you want, you're going for it. And that's amazing.
I think the nice thing is too, for us anyways, I think some things have really crystallized for us within the last 6 months in terms of what we want to do and the direction we want to go. Because one of the things that happens as you start to get involved in business is other opportunities come your way. So there's lots of, like as an entrepreneur, there's lots of shiny objects that might distract you along the way. So it's been really good for us over the last 6 months. We've kind of really developed a plan in terms of what we want to do and where we want to go with things. And it's really nice to see things just kind of working the way that I want them to go. And just, you know, obviously there's always setbacks, things that don't work the way you want them to go. But I think we have a really solid plan in terms of what we're going to be doing for at least the next year.
And how do you actually go about that? Because I know, same thing, have been, you know, in the online space for so long, you know, trying to be able to sift through that and figure out what you do. You know, obviously you brought up, and when we were talking before, you mentioned something about like Etsy, and I don't know how much you're doing with Etsy. And we had started, I mean, when we started, we did, you know, it was kind of like the roadmap of, okay, we did merch, and we started that the first few months, and we were just a couple months out of Q4, and we're like, oh my gosh, we have to have an Etsy shop. Oh my gosh, we have to do Redbubble. And we were just like, and the pod, we had never even done anything like that. And we were in it for 3 months and like having to do everything. And I'm telling you right now, like it got down to the point where we're like, okay, dwindle down our focus again. And so, I mean, I don't necessarily think that it has to be like just one thing totally out the gate. However, I think that, you know, if you do kind of broaden it a little bit, then narrowing it down is a really, really good idea. How did you guys do that from your start with like merch and the progression of, you know, working through Etsy and Redbubble and all that stuff too?
So you want to start?
Yeah.
You can go. Sorry, I talk a lot. I kind of talk for a living. So
well, I think the Etsy thing really kind of picked up for us. So because we did merch for a while, and I think we kind of got like burned out, and we still enjoyed it and we still did it, but a lot of the stuff, like I just felt like I couldn't create the things I really wanted to do without having an Etsy shop. Like on Amazon, it's just so disconnected, and I wanted it to be a little bit more personal, and I wanted to create a certain type of feel and like look to my store, and like we wanted to create sort of a brand and everything. So like Etsy just kind of made sense for us, and it was like an easy move instead of like jumping to like Shopify, which is kind of its own whole other animal. And then he was kind of doing Redbubble and Cafe Press and like all that stuff, just kind of uploading things. But I just feel like that's why we transitioned into Etsy. And then like, obviously like the mock-up shop stemmed from that. That was just kind of like.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's kind of a natural progression. Like, so the mock-up shop became what it did because we were doing Etsy, and we were doing Etsy pretty heavily. And, you know, we just, like I said, there was a need. Like, we knew that if we were having these exact same needs, if we were having a problem finding the mock-ups we wanted, specifically, like what I noticed, especially within like the last couple of months, is more people have moved on to Etsy, is there is a couple of mock-ups that are good mock-ups, but every goddamn seller has them. So all of the shops have this exact same mock-up. So all of the stuff looks the same. And that's simply because there's just not a lot of really good, high quality mock-ups in, you know, for specific things. So I was like, we need to do this. Like, it's just, we need to do this. We have the pieces in place now. We understand what we need to do. And like, if we don't do this, like, we're just not gonna be able to do some of the stuff that we want to do. Yeah. In terms of the overall business, I think a lot of it has come down to, at the end of the day, life is short, right? Like, you only have so much time on this planet. So you better figure out what you want to do and do the things that you want to do, like not be doing the things that like you're just getting a paycheck for or anything else. And I think that's what focused like a lot of our decisions in terms of everything. We talk a lot about like, where do we want to be within the next year, the next 3 years or whatever, and how does everything else fit into that, right? Because you can only do so many things in a day. And I think when you're starting out, you have to do a lot of things to kind of figure out what you like. And we've just kind of figured out things that we like that fit in together. You know, I enjoy doing the content. So I enjoy doing the content about the things that we're doing. I enjoy the Etsy side because, again, we can be more personalized. We can do a lot more custom stuff. We can offer apparel items you can't offer on Merch by Amazon. And I feel like there's more of a connection with the customer. And, you know, in terms of just my growth and what we've learned, like, I really, really feel passionately that if you're not building a brand, if you're not thinking about how you're going to brand your business or how you're going to connect with an audience, like, at the end of the day, it's a short-term play for you. It just is. Like, there is going to be an economic downturn at some point. We've been in a boom market for the last 10 plus years. Like, when that happens, you don't want to be a commodity. You don't want to be just part of the crowd. You need to have something, a connection with people that makes people passionate and, you know, really buy into your stuff. And that's where we're headed. Like, that's all of our focus for at least the last 6 months are, how do we build a sustainable brand that has an audience that's really connected with its fan base, that, you know, serves the fan base, that provides things for them, and then also, you know, has a community, that it has buy-in. And so that's really like everything that we're doing right now, even down to the mock-ups, right? Like, we want to make sure that we have that right feel, the right touch, everything else. That's where it all comes in.
Yeah, that is an awesome direction. And I think that that's one of the things, and hopefully people are kind of, you know, taking note of that. And when you say, you know, there's an economic downturn, does that mean like it's all, you know, doom and gloom and whatever? Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't have to be. And that just means that you definitely need to be aware of what's going on and do what you can to take matters into your own hands when it comes to that. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. And, you know, because you definitely need to, when you're putting so much into it, like you guys have, you know, that is definitely something that has to be audited. Yeah. And, you know, because you want to be investing your time, obviously not, like you said, just going for a paycheck. So if you're looking at that and being like, hey, I'm investing my time in creating something that can be, you know, stable and sustainable, then fantastic. And if people are not doing that, there's a different timeline for this too. So don't like freak anybody out that's like just kind of starting out and getting into this mix and like learning and stuff. But you guys are obviously at the point too to where, you know, Matt has talked about selling his business and making all of these different pieces kind of like your full-time deal. So when you're doing that, you need to be absolutely aware of, you know, what's going on with those different pieces of the puzzle, and are they potentially going to be sustainable, you know, if that happens. So you hit the nail on the head with everything that you guys are doing. And I know that, you know, just between both of you being a powerhouse team of, you know, willing to put in the time and work together. And it's awesome that you guys do get to do that and work together, because it's a less of a strain on, oh my gosh, you're just working on your business. Well, no, that's not really how it works, because you guys are really excited to work on our business. So I know that that helps a lot. And, you know, along with that comes the different skills and specialties that you guys bring to the table. And yeah, so it's awesome to be able to watch that and just see how it all comes together and the teamwork and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to clarify, like, I'm not saying like we're gonna suddenly go into recession, like, you know, a week down the road or something like that.
Everybody's crying right now. They're freaking out. Like,
yeah, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying though is like, plan for the future. Like if you're doing this and this is something that you want to move and have it be your full-time income, like you need to think through all of the portions of it and what that actually means. And there's also like, when you have a brand, there are a lot of advantages to having a brand. There are a lot of advantages that you're just not going to have by competing against everybody. And, you know, like, here's the thing with Merch by Amazon. Great platform, doesn't cost anything to do really. It's a great opportunity to get into e-commerce, and you can make really, really good money. But at the end of the day, every single t-shirt looks the same. The design is different, but the t-shirt looks the same. The customer doesn't know from one brand to the next. They don't care. And so you're kind of a commodity. There's no moat to protect you. When you have a brand and you have people that are really interested and really passionate about your stuff, they're not going anywhere else. It's just, there's so many competitive advantages by it. You know, I feel like I'm kind of a broken record, but it's like, this is like my truth. Like, this is what I believe in. I think that like, this is what we have to do.
Oh, I mean, it's absolutely, you know, and even obviously us like doing stuff like on the physical product side, like you absolutely, because these, and it's interesting. It's scary because it's such a different deal, like coming off and just looking at like merch, and you want to say like, it is relatively easy. And however, there's some of those things here, like if you talk to people that are not in merch or not in the Amazon space or not Amazon sellers, but they are in the e-com space or they are in print on demand, they see the benefit of Amazon. They see the benefit of, you know, doing merch. But that is not like, there's such a huge benefit to building your brand and serving your customers and having them be your customers that you can do that. I mean, that is a huge, huge, huge space. And it's so interesting that people are just like, you've sold how much, and like you don't have any customer information. Like, yeah, it's like, sure, those aren't your customers. You're like, you're right. Holy crap. Like, it's insane. And so it is interesting and fun and scary when you're getting on that other side, but definitely worth it and something to keep in mind and start learning about for sure. Especially if you're committed to this space, you have to start learning about it.
Now, where would you start to learn about brand building and taking advantage of having your own customers?
I think the stair step is Etsy. I think that's a great, if somebody's just coming just from merch, I think Etsy's great for that, a starting platform.
Yeah, so this is kind of the way that I've been trying to explain it to people. Merch is e-commerce for babies, right? Like if you've never done e-commerce, merch is a great way to get into it because you understand kind of a little bit how Amazon works, a little bit how search engines work, a little bit how all that optimization works, everything else. And then Etsy is like e-commerce with training wheels, right? So it still has organic traffic, it still takes it to you, but you have to do a lot more of the pieces, you know, customer service, you have to figure out the fulfillment part, you know, Etsy does a lot of things for you, but you have to do a lot of the other things for you. And then, you know, Shopify and then hosting your own website and everything else, like that's a whole nother monster when you're talking about getting traffic to your site.
Welcome to the jungle, baby. That's basically.
Yeah, it's a whole nother monster that I'm actually really excited. Like, so I don't know about you. Like, I know that you and John obviously have a lot going on in terms of just not merch, but also your actual, you know, real heavy business. And for me, like for us, really, I think the challenge that's coming forward in terms of like building the brand and taking it to Shopify and actually having to do our own traffic and having to develop content and everything else, like that's exciting for me because it's a new challenge. It's something I feel like I've kind of conquered merch. We know exactly what we need to do to be successful. This is something new and interesting we're learning.
Well, it is. It's funny because yes, that's exciting, but I just put a post the other day and I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, I feel like, I don't know if I should be doing this. Is this something that I should be doing right now? Should I be outsourcing it? Should we be doing it at all? Like, I was just like having a mini freak out moment because I'm like, seriously, when you learn something and you work on something for so long, and like you said, like, hey, I got merch. I know what I need to do to be successful in merch, and fine. But then you get to different things and you're just like, there's so many different things to learn and do and move. And it's just like, yeah. Holy cow. So again, yes. And it's like, oh my gosh. And I was like, then somebody showed the entrepreneur roller coaster to where like, oh, this is great. Okay. Now I suck. Okay. And I'm like, literally that day, I just went through every one of those emotions. Cause I'm like, it's very, very complex, but here's the thing. And so I worked through from my mini freak out to last week to like, and it wasn't even a day. I didn't have like a meltdown or anything. It was just like, I'm sitting there saying, is this what I should be doing with my time right now? Because that's one of the things that I feel over the time that I've been able to get pretty good at is prioritizing, is looking at, okay, here's the big picture. Now I'm going to back it out. And so I feel pretty good at that. And with Shopify, I'm like, there's so much that we didn't even have to do, that we don't have to do, obviously, through Amazon. And so then you're talking about a ton of stuff that's behind the scenes that I would have never even thought of. Yeah. And even saying, hey, we're going on to Shopify. I mean, I feel like we're creating like lots of other mini businesses that you wouldn't even know. And I know, Matt, same thing. And I mean, it's kind of like the same stuff with your guys' content and stuff. Like there's so much more that the puzzle pieces that you're putting together that from the outside, people wouldn't even know really what's going on. But this is all part of kind of like a master plan coming together. And it's just, it's
you're not alone. Like there's plenty of many freakouts in this house from both of us. Not like literally, like there are days.
More me.
But no, I just think I contain it better at times. I'm a little more stoic.
I'm like emotional, so it doesn't take a lot for me to just be like, fuck it. And like,
but yeah, it's the entrepreneurial journey. It's just this is what it is. Like you go up, you go down, like you feel like you have all the answers, and then the next day you're like, I don't know shit.
Yeah, exactly. Because you learn, you're like, oh my gosh, I got this, and this. But then it's like, oh great, I just learned this one thing, which opened the door to tell me, hey, you got to learn 5 more. And it's like, this is never gonna get. But at the same time, like I said, it was that like day whatever, and then it was literally the very next day we started like putting out the pieces. And I'm like, I get it. Like I see what's happening here. And I understand that like right now it's this foundation that we're building, like this solid foundation of every little piece of doing it right and not half-assing it. And just that's what it will pay off. And we started seeing like little bits. I'm like, okay, where's this sale coming? How is this happening? Like, where is it coming from? And then you can look, and we've never looked at like Google Analytics before because our site was a stupid Wix site that we never even sent traffic to because we didn't want to fulfill the orders ourselves. Right. So like, we didn't even deal with it. So now it's like, oh my gosh, like, wait, like we can do these things and like people are actually going to find us. Like, we're not even like doing any ads or anything yet, and obviously that is part of the plan, the layers, but we're not even there yet. So it is pretty exciting, but there's a lot to learn, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do think so. Circling back to Amy's question on branding and like where do you start, so one thing I did forget to mention is I do a newsletter that we release. I released the first one of 2019. There was a little bit of a break because we had some personal stuff going on, but I release it ideally every Wednesday or Thursday, and I've been covering a lot of stuff on brand for basically the last couple of episodes, specifically also the last one too. And I'm going to be diving really heavily into that, and just including lots of links and other things that explain kind of why I feel so strongly about it. But one of the things I think that is important if you're going to grow is you can't listen to every voice, right? Like, because there's a million different voices telling you that you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to do this and this is the best way to do it or whatever, right? Like, you need to find your North Star. You need to find the person that you connect with, that you believe in and you understand, or your tight little group, right? And make sure that you guys are on the same page and make sure that you guys are, this is what you're focusing on, because it's really easy, you know, ClickFunnels and Russell Brunson and, you know, all of these other, you know, like, I don't want to say guru because I hate that fucking word, but like all of these other people that
leader, whatever. No.
whatever. Charlatan.
I'm teasing. I love
like, you need to find that one person and just literally just buy in, because if you try and do everything, you're not going to get anything done.
Gotta find your cult leader.
Yeah, well, it's parallel to the shiny object syndrome. Like, whether it's little businesses or, like you said, different methods or different strategies or whatever. Listen, these people are where they're at because they are successful in what they're doing. Doesn't mean like that's why I see it so clearly when I see, like, you know, you guys are killing it on Etsy, and I don't really have the knee-jerk reaction to like go over there at the moment. Do I know that that's a great opportunity? And if it takes us, if we decide that that's what we want to build out eventually, is that what we might do? Maybe. You can kill it on Etsy. You can kill it on merch. You can kill it on FBA. You can do your own brand. You can do wholesale. People do drop shipping, like all this different stuff. But pick one. And like you said, pick one voice. And that's one of the things that we had not really done outside of like last year. We went really heavily into going to all of these, a bunch of different events. And we connected with so many awesome people that kind of like, we really picked, like we had just mentioned, we went to the GrowthCon, 10X GrowthCon. And there was probably, out of that, there was one person out of the entire group. There's multiple that were like, oh yeah, like this is cool, whatever. There's one person that we picked out, one thing that we're just like, yes, this is exactly what we, you know, and we were focused on that. And so now we have all of that content and information, you know, coming in from that. On top of it, we just made a commitment. It was the middle of last month. First time ever, we actually are working with a business coach. And it is incredible because here's the thing is I think that when we're working, John and I, just like you both, think very differently. You have very different opinions. And you know what? Are either of them right or wrong? Probably not. Like sometimes you just have to decide, well, we're just going to figure out what we're going to both, you know, go after. Yeah. And so that can be very challenging in number one. And it's like, once you have somebody that's like been there and it's somebody that's very, very specialized with Shopify, which is obviously not our forte. So we needed to find somebody that filled that piece that we weren't, you know, that we weren't really familiar with. And then, so like now it's just so much clearer. It's like, I don't know, should I be concerned with the graphics? Should I be concerned with the speed of our site? Should I, all these different things that you just don't know. I don't know how to prioritize them because everything's so damn new. So when they sit there and say, hey, this is what you need to work on, I'm like, done. Like, we're going to crush it because I can get all that stuff done next week. And I'm not sitting here second guessing myself. And so, I mean, before we were very much action oriented anyways, but sometimes what would happen is we'd be doing something and we get it done and we realize, wow, we don't have to do that until like step 8. We're back on step 2. Great. So that just sits there. We just completed that project. And now realistically, we have to come back to step 2. So that's been really, really awesome. So
I mean, I'm a big fan of paying for knowledge, right? Like, so shortcutting the process, like you don't have to figure out everything on your own. So there are plenty of people out there that want to sell you stuff that isn't good, but for as many of those as there are, they don't last very long. Like the ones that actually have like built businesses and, you know what I mean? Like they're there for a reason. And it's the quickest way. Like once you get over that hump and you understand that like paying for knowledge, it's the quickest way you can level yourself up. Like talk to somebody that actually knows this is essential. This is essential. Don't pay any attention to this stuff right here. Like this is the things you need to get done.
Yeah. Like like some of the stuff you're like, okay, I could have just wasted a week on that when this is not even impactful to our conversions, you know, like it's just, it's insanely valuable. And having that, again, one-on-one personal aspect of walking us through it, like, and it is different. Like, it's great. We've started before. Like, how do we start before? We went to events, or you know, we've you know, walked through it and done some courses. We've done plenty, and that's the thing. A lot of this stuff, like you said, you can find a lot of the stuff for free. So if you're just starting out, again, don't feel like you have to go and, you know, pay for stuff for sure initially, but just invest in yourself when you can. When you start to like learn and capitalize on some of that free stuff, yes. You need to jump that learning curve as fast as you can if you're committed, because I mean, it moves very, very fast.
Yeah. I mean, Amy, I know you're a part of Jose's course, right?
Oh, yeah.
I sure am. And it was more than worth it. It's been more than worth it for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you don't realize the things you don't know until you actually talk to somebody that is like a true expert in that field. Because, you know, I'm in the group and I don't catch a ton of it because, again, we're not really focused on merch. We're more focused on the other things we're doing. But every once in a while, I'll just hop on and listen to a call or whatever. And every time that I do, I'm just like, God damn, like there's just so much stuff.
Yeah, there's all these different like elements to it too. So when I heard that he was putting out a course, it's like, well, heck yeah, I'm jumping in on that because I mean, he's got all this incredible design knowledge and trend knowledge, and then you know his research process is a bit different than others, and it's definitely like it was a very worthwhile investment in my business for sure. So paying for knowledge, I'm a huge fan of that. Whether it's like Skillshare courses or Udemy, you know, YouTube University is great too. But
yeah, you took a really cool Udemy course, right? Like that. Remember you were doing? I remember you were doing some drawing stuff or whatever, and that's such a great place to be able to get the really inexpensive courses too.
Yeah, and I mean, and just learning, even if you just learn like one new thing that can give you an advantage in your business, it's worth it. It's paid for itself.
Well, which is kind of funny, Matt, that we are kind of both agreeing on this for a moment, because I actually had somebody reach out to me that I met. They're in ecom and they do have a merch account, and they were going to have somebody that they know that they're like, well, you know, I have a young, you know, go-getter. And I think that I might be able to kind of help them and they can work my account and blah, blah, blah. They weren't really all that into it. And they're like, is there a course that I can get them? And I was like, and even said like paid course. I'm like, no. I was like, here's the resources. I was like, first, Merch Elephant. Boom. Like, and I was like, here's the 2 groups that you need to be in. If you find everything else, fine. But these are the 2 groups that, like, and I'm like, get this newsletter. I was like, that's what you need. Like, that's exactly, I'm like, cut the clutter, like cut all the other stuff. Like, I mean, because again, your content, like, and if anybody has not gone to that channel, I don't beginner or not, like it's not even just for a beginner, but it's incredibly valuable for a beginner. You have to go to that channel and absorb all of that content. And so literally that's my number 1 spot for anybody that is like getting involved. I'm like, there you go. There's your.
That's exactly what I've done. Like it was RJ's channel, Matt's channel, Neil, you know, in the Merch Informer blog. Like I've spent so much.
Merch Informer blog too. That's huge.
I spent so much time in there, and I've learned so much, and I still revisit it today. You know,
I actually feel like Neil's channel doesn't get enough credit for whatever reason. But like I've learned so much stuff from that I've just taken and just kind of put my own little spin on it or whatever. But I don't think near enough people pay attention to the like really good content that's on that Merch Informer YouTube channel. There's, you know, in we're talking about paying to level up and everything else. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying like a beginner needs to go out and sign up for a course right away. Like there is tons of really good free content out there, whether it's my channel, whether it's Blake's channel with Merch Campus. Like there's tons of good free content out there that will get you started and get you headed in the right direction. Like you don't need to pay for something if you're not bringing in money, right? But once you have some money coming in, like we talk about all the time, like reinvest in your business. Like
exactly.
If you want to, if you really want to go all in on merch, and you can, like then reinvest in your business. Make sure that you're talking to the people that are going to be able to take you from somebody that does, you know, 150 sales a month to doing 500 to 1,000 to 1,500. You know what I mean? Because there are people out there that are doing way more than that. You know, and you want to be surrounding yourself with those people.
Yep. Absolutely. So real quick too, before I just don't want to forget it. Now, Matt, you mentioned your newsletter, which is just power packed. I'm like, how the hell is he like writing this too? And so it's awesome. So how do people get their hands on that?
So that really easy. It's merchnews.email. Just go to that URL. You can sign up. And then we send out a newsletter generally every Wednesday is my goal. I'm going to actually work on that after we get off of this. So I'm actually, my goal on that too, by the way, instead of doing these monster newsletters, which take me a while to write, and then she has to go through and proof it and everything else, I'm going to try and break it up and go into a little bit shorter posts. So like 700 to 900 words and try and do it.
He says that, and then it always ends up being like,
I try, but so do deep focus on like one item, like twice a week. So to make it a little bit more focused, like one day we'll do merch, and then maybe on like Friday we'll do Etsy or something like that, to make it a little bit shorter too, because I know it is a lot to go through, especially because I'll typically add in 5 to 6 links to really long articles at the end about things that I think are relevant and interesting.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, the value is ridiculous. So,
and that's more free content that can really get you started or just help you continue on in your business, whether it's merch or Etsy.
Oh, right. And then the other thing is, I know, like, Matt, you've always been basically like you and RJ totally like leading. You, RJ, probably Esney and Neil. I think probably, to me, this is kind of like who I see leading the way when it comes to like research and stuff. So you guys actually share your research, right? Or people can get their hands on that too.
Yeah. So we do a research project every single month that we do a lot of stuff with it. So it's roughly 300 links between Etsy and merch and Look Human and some other sites. But I think the real value is what we started doing 2 months ago is we do a webinar every single month that is included with the research. And if you buy it before we do it, you can actually be there live and ask us questions. So the last one we did was like 2 hours and 15 minutes long, and it was pretty deep. I think it was really, really good. A lot of people got a lot of value out of it. That you can find a link for that in my Facebook group, Merch by Amazon Masterminds. And there's a replay of that webinar in there. I see somebody asking in the chat, the newsletter's free. It's always going to be free. It's kind of I like to write. So it's a chance for me to like work on my craft and actually put together stuff. And also it helps me to figure out thoughts in my head. And helps her to figure out thoughts in my head.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so California's school system used to be really good. It is no longer really good. They don't teach grammar and things like that. So my grammar is atrocious. Ask her.
Well, I don't know.
The fact that it's legible is entirely due to it is really bad.
It's really not that bad.
Yeah, it is.
It's just a lack of commas.
What's funny though? It's kind of the same thing. So like, and I would like lose my mind if I felt like I had to go through and just write a ton, like 1,000-word blogs a week or whatever. I would just be like, and I don't mind writing like some stuff, but like for me, like concise, whatever. Like John's really good. Like he'll do like the copy and like put all that together and like the emails and all that kind of work. Like he takes care of that. But like the same thing, like we'll just go back and forth. I don't think that he's like bad at grammar by any means. I think his flow is just like really good at like the communicating it clearly aspect of it. So a little bit of proofreading makes sense when you're just, having to talk.
I mean, and I don't make it perfect. I just kind of skim it just for like the big stuff, but I leave it to kind of be like his words, even if it's not
correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I try and write it in the way that I talk too.
Yeah,
right? It's kind of conversational. It's not necessarily like, because it could be really dry if you're just getting really technical. So I try to keep it fairly conversational, but I do like, it gives me an opportunity to go deep into some subjects that like, it's not as easy to go over in a video.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and then there was some people that were popping up on there. So kind of like a review, like you said, they had questions. The newsletter is free. He gave the link. And I know that Amy Herberger does such a good job. I have no doubt that, Matt, if you like send like within our chat or even give it to Amy, she'll be able to throw it onto all the links and stuff on the YouTube channel, however that works. It's funny. Like she was talking to you. I'm like, I'm so YouTube illiterate. Like I've continued to push away from it. That's why like whenever I do anything, I'm like, I'm just going to do YouTube live. If it turns out that I need to, or I'm sorry, Facebook live, if it turns out that I need to do something with YouTube, maybe we'll rip the videos and throw them on there later. But like I have not done anything so that we have, but I know that they can put the links there and we'll get those to you guys. So there's the newsletter. There's your guys' Etsy mockup is the Trunk Studio, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then Merch Masterminds is the group. And then you have Real Talk, and that is on Wednesdays. And that is that on, do they search Real Talk or do they search RJ Martinez or what? How do they find that?
It's on RJ's YouTube channel. So if you search for RJ Martinez, it's on there.
Okay. And then Merch Elephant YouTube channel, and then Average Joe Merch Show. Are you guys doing that weekly?
We're trying to. We're failing at it right now. But
well,
I think
probably because you need to sleep at some point in your life. Jeez Louise.
Well, the goal is basically for us to do like 3 or 4 of them in a row. So just block a day off and just knock them all out. And then we just release them on a weekly schedule. We need to get back to that. It worked for us once and it worked pretty well, but it's just, there's only so much time.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but yeah, that's okay. So then there's that. And then trying to think of anything else that we had talked about. The research. So how, so how do they, if they get into your group, there's the research is available.
Yeah, if they go in the group, you should be able to find it if you just search
everything.
research.
You know what? Yeah, probably everything's in like can they look at? Do you guys have a pin post for that? I haven't looked at it most recently. So
yeah, but I don't think it's in the pin post. I don't think RG's updated the pin post in like 6 months. It's kind of a mess.
But you can still access the webinars, right?
Yeah.
Is that for both the last 2 packs?
Yeah, so the webinar, it's specific to the research for whatever pack it is. But yeah, you can get either of them.
Okay, so let's talk real quick. Now we talked about like the nitty gritty of businessy stuff. So vision wise of like where you guys like see yourself, and I don't like to talk too far ahead of time because I think that that's really difficult. But I know, Matt, you were talking about potentially selling your pool business. Where is like that in like what you guys think about like maybe where you'll be living or whatever in the next like 2 years? What are you guys looking at? Is that like he's covering?
So, the goal is to be essentially like location independent, so I can do my business from anywhere. The goal is to try and be there by the end of this year, which I think is entirely possible. We went to Alaska for Thanksgiving last year, which sounded crazy on the surface. You know, let's go to a place that's freezing cold and snow and ice and everything else to people that are from California, right? Because everybody comes here when there's snow. But we have some friends that lived up there and we loved it, like just absolutely loved it. So, yeah, I mean, I think that Alaska is kind of right at the top of our list. You know, we've talked about a couple of other places going outside of the country, doing some things, but like just Alaska meets so many of the things that we like and just enjoy. And yeah, some California kids are going to go freeze their asses off.
Hey, I just love that summers, like the days go till 10 p.m. Like I'm all about that.
Oh, that's good.
Summer is like my favorite time of year. And there it's usually like 70s.
A heat wave is 80 degrees.
Yeah. But like, it doesn't get dark till like 10 or 11 at night. So yeah. I'm all about that.
That's nice.
So yeah, that's the goal. I'm very, like, our pool business is very successful. We're by far the best business in the area. Like, we have no shortage of clients, and I honestly turn away more business than we take on. But it doesn't. I was talking to my business partner about this today, and I'm like, you know, both of us have a skill set because we've run other businesses that is just not utilized at all in this business. Like, it's just not challenging. Like, literally, we talk about it. It's like you just kind of check your brain at the door because you can kind of do all the stuff in your sleep. And I'm just at the point now where I need to do something that stimulates me intellectually a little bit more. Like, it's a little bit more challenging. That's where kind of all of this started. And, you know, I find myself most of the day while I'm working on pools, I'm still working on business related to this. So it just makes sense. Like, why not take this full time?
I like it. So when do you think that might be? You said potentially by the end of this year. That's kind of
by the end of the year. Yeah. So it's kind of a long runway to selling a pool business, just because you have to find the right person. You have to be able to get that all lined up. It's a decent amount of money. So it's not like a quick sales process. Like, you don't list it and it sells within a week. It's generally 3 to 6 months. So that's going to be the most significant speed bump. But, you know, I mean, it'll happen when it happens. In the meantime, we obviously have plenty of other stuff on our plate. It seems like I will say this. So for anybody that is in the audience that, you know, they're starting to have some success, one of the most important things you can do is actually say no. Like, literally, the ability to say no is so important to successful business people. I think it's a line from Warren Buffett. Like, the thing about like the super successful people is their ability to say no to the things that don't matter. And that's something I'm really trying to work on, and not always great at it, as you can see by all the things that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just being conscious of it is great in and of itself, and that'll be, you know, and it's hard, you know. I mean, like you said, like, again, when you were like, oh, you know, we had 2 Etsy stores. And, you know, where they were never doing great, but they were producing. And same thing, we had a gazillion listings up, merchant fulfilled. But it was like the merchant fulfilled POD. We had VA like running through, and we weren't making it. Over Q4 we did well, but it was like, you know what? I'm done. Like, no, like all this stuff takes brain capacity that just is not, no, like we just need to be done with it. And let's just really focus. Like there's no way, like even when we did books when we got started, and it was incredible, like what we built with books from charities. Like it was just nuts, but that was our focus, like all we focused on, you know. And then when you start adding other stuff into it, like, yeah, great, there's other opportunities, but you know, if you just literally laser focus in, and at the same time, but you know, coming to the point to where you guys were able to create, and I really think this is going to be, I mean, I know you guys, and the fact that you paired up with somebody that is just amazing and incredible with like the photography, I just think that like the mock-up store is going to be absolutely insane. I think that you guys are, again, filling a void that is totally necessary. You know what the market needs, and people are coming into, there's a lot of people that are coming into print on demand, and they're going to need that stuff. And so I just think it's going to be just wildfire for you guys. I love it. I love that you guys are committed to it, that you guys have put so much into it over the past year, and that it's going to continue to grow. And God, I think it's just
I'm really excited for it. I mean, you know, again, like you said, it's filling a need, right? Like this is something, if you want to have success on Etsy, like the number one thing you can do to improve your shop is just have good product photography. Like that's true on Amazon, same thing, right? Like having great product photography makes a huge difference. It's like one of the things they talk about, like it's one of the most important things you can have. And you know, it's really like, I'm really proud of her because she is, you know, she's the one that's done most of the work on this. Like it has not been me. It's her like busting her ass. And the reason that it looks really good is because of her and because of Jasmine. Like, you know, it's one thing to have the image, but the actual editing to make sure that the colors stay true and you have, you know, everything looks the way that it's supposed to, like it's not easy. Yeah,
I wasn't going to do it if it wasn't adding value to that community. Cause it's like, anyone can do it, but it's like, I wanted to do it and I wanted to do it well so that people could actually be proud of putting their design on that shirt and putting it in their shop.
For sure.
Like, yeah. So.
Awesome.
Yeah. There's enough garbage out there already. We didn't want to contribute to that.
Oh, no, I think that is incredible. I'm excited to see what comes out of that. And I know, like I said, I just feel like it's just going to freaking blow up. It's going to be awesome. Awesome. So, well, thank you guys for hopping on with us. It was great to have both of you. And man, we had so much to talk about. You guys have a crazy amount going on. And I'm excited to add Alaska to the list of places that we come visit. So just make sure you guys have a little blow up, you know, bed for us.
That'll definitely be part of the requirements wherever we go, is, you know, make sure that people can come visit us. Because I'll tell you what, like people are sleeping on Alaska, honestly. Like, yeah, the winters can be rough. You obviously deal with rough winters where you're at, but God damn, that place is beautiful.
Well, man, maybe we'll consider it. And cost, I mean, what is too is cost of living pretty much, because we were out in Colorado and we're like, oh, this would be fantastic. It's great. But I mean, not that it really mattered because my family's here. So it wasn't really a big consideration, but you never know. So up there how's that in comparison?
It's more expensive than you would expect, largely because of the oil industry. Also the fact there's no state income tax up there. You actually get paid money to live in Alaska. So like that kind of all gets reflected in the housing costs and everything else. And then everything has to be shipped up to Alaska, right? Like they're not growing plants and everything else up there. So all of those costs kind of get factored into it. It's a little more expensive than I thought at first, but less than California. Like California.
I was gonna say, yeah, you guys are coming from Cali, so it really
is. Like literally anywhere we go, it's cheaper. It doesn't matter.
So you're picking Alaska over Costa Rica, though.
Yeah.
We went to Costa Rica and it was cool, but I was just like, I don't know. I don't have this thing of like, I want to be here. Like
all the time.
It just didn't happen like it did in Alaska, which that wasn't even on our radar when we went up there. We're just like, let's go to Alaska for Thanksgiving.
Something new.
Hang out with some friends. Like it was never like to see if we want to live there.
Right. Yeah. Costa Rica. So it was beautiful, stunningly beautiful. Like you saw pictures of the place we were staying at.
Yeah.
But I did feel like if we were going to live there, you're going to kind of like live up on a hill and be away from everything else, right? Like, because, you know, part of the reason that the cost of living is so low is because people don't have as much there. And we really wanted to be part of a place where we were part of the community and really involved in it. And I just didn't know if we would feel the same thing in Costa Rica. So
that makes sense. Totally makes sense. Yeah, when you get down to it and you're actually like envisioning yourself, like it's all fine and dandy to be like, oh yeah, that'd be a beautiful place to be. But when you're like actually envisioning it and, you know, really considering it, totally different story. But okay, all right. Well, I think that we're good. We started on time. We're kind of wrapping it up on time. And like I said, I know Miss Amy will do her magic with the YouTube stuff because it's not my jam. But thanks, guys.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, like, honestly, like, we just came on to have a conversation. It wasn't really here to promote anything.
No, but everybody, you don't have to. Everybody's going to want it. Like, they don't, I mean, everybody's going to be like, what the heck? And asking for the DM link. So it has nothing to do with you promoting it, but they're going to want to know. So they'll put it down in there. But all right, guys. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, you guys have a wonderful, what do we got? We have some not Thanksgiving. We have some, Valentine's Day coming up. Those shirts to be done, but St. Patty's. So everybody get your St. Patty's.
It's starting to move. Yeah. We're selling a lot.
And they have some sick mock-ups for St. Patrick's Day. So go over to the Trunk Studio.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys. Thank you. All right, bye.